I want to come and do a brief. Unfortunately, I could have done a comprehensive program, but my laptop is still playing up. I want to come on. I'm using my phone right now, which I am not really comfortable using. Thank you. Thank you, Abubakar. I want to do a brief discussion on this potential legal action against Mamadi Kurang, led by Amie Bensouda. But I want to look at it very critical, because this is not between two people. There's an interest here, and the interest is the state itself. The Adama Barrow administration would be on trial. The Gambian people have an interest in this trial as well, if it happens to take place. Why am I saying if it happens to take place? Because for now, it is a request, some will call it a threat to Mamadi Kurang, but it's a request that Madam Amie Bensouda did to requesting Mamadi Kurang to cease and desist, and with conditions that he have to comply with. If he refused to do that, then the case will go to court. He will take him to court. And part of those conditions are to withdraw all posting that he have done against her, and to apologize for what he had said before, allegations of misconduct. And the third bit would be not to continue doing what he does by agitating her or making allegations against her. This is what the premise of the case is. It's a civil suit. It's not a criminal matter. Then the interest of the state. We'll go into that a little bit, as we are going to go to observe our interests, the public interest. I don't want this to be an emotional thing. This would be a test case. Technically, I should not even say a test case. There are precedents of this, and we'll look at those precedents. But this is marking of the history. This is going to be a history, not our legal history alone, but political history of the Gambia, if it goes through the courts. And it has the potential to damage individuals, but it had the potential, again, to bring the state down. And we are going to explore that through our discussion. Then it is to the public interest to follow this case. And again, it's to the public interest to make sure we give the support to Mamadi Kurang to present his case, if he wishes to do that, or wherever he wishes to do. That's the support that he requires. In this sense is this. It doesn't mean that you agree totally to what Mamadi Kurang have put out there. No. It's the principle of supporting an underdog. But the ultimate risk here is taken by Mamadi Kurang. The ultimate risk is taken by Mamadi Kurang, and is taken by Amie Bensouda herself. We are a party to this case because it's to national interest. It will help us to get to the bottom of what we ask for. And if Mamadi Kurang becomes the person to be the catalyst for that, obviously our support then goes to Mamadi Kurang, regardless whether we agree with him or not, or we support him or not, we are close to him or not. What we are supporting is the principle of justice, and being an underdog to see Mamadi go through. But again, we have to allow Amie Bensouda to exercise her rights. We have to allow Amie Bensouda to exercise her rights. It's within her rights to do what she's doing, to take legal action. I want to start with The background and the basis of the legal action, it's, as we remember, that Mamadou Kurang and Amie Bensouda were both employed by the state to help to recover, find out the facts and recover the looted assets of the people from Jammeh and Jammeh Associates. In the process, starting of the process of this, there become a disagreement where Mamadou Kurang made an allegations against the commission, especially to Amie Bensouda, which Mamadou Kurang apparently did send a petition to the president, according to the former Justice Minister Ababakar Tambadou, without copying or sending it to Ababakar Tambadou. Without sending it to Ababakar Tambadou, he bypassed and sent it to the president. And the president sent it down to Ababakar Tambadou. And Ababakar Tambadou invited Amie Bensouda. I am not sure whether he had invited Mamadou Kurang. He have not mentioned that. Probably it's a slip. It's just slip that he didn't mention that he might have approached, and I think that would have been the procedure to approach Mamadou Kurang to hear the side of the conversation. Allegations. But the decision was taken to let Mamadou Kurang go, to sack Mamadou Kurang technically and to maintain Amie Bensouda. Then the commission continued until the end of the during the process of the commission, Mamadou Kurang had been standing out as a whistleblower and making allegations and continuing that in many aspects, Facebook or in interviews, but more so recently when the publication came out from Republic, and it heightens the interest of the people again, and he continued to do what he did. This is the basis background of this. Until a few days ago, Amie Bensouda decided to take a legal action for Mamadou Kurang to cease and desist and make take the actions that she asked for so that amendment can be made. Now, we have to consider this. What I'm trying to do here is try to take emotions out of this, but try to represent, try to height it, put the case of the importance of this, this lawsuit. In doing so, then, we need to highlight on both sides what challenges they have for us to understand where this is going to lead to. And in the case of association risk that Amie Bensouda have taken, you'll wonder, why is Amie Bensouda taking this case? This is not the first time Amie Bensouda has threatened a lawsuit or served a lawsuit to critics. And one of those was a gentleman, or few of them, I think, who were in the APRC and made such allegations, similar allegations, and they had to withdraw and apologize. They abided by what Amie have asked for them not to be taken to trial. This time round again, this is the second time I know of that she's taking that route. Some people will say that, oh, she's trying to silence. She's trying to silence Mamadou Kurang. She's trying to silence, people, and so on. Beyond reasonably, people have the right to say that. But again, we have to accept a fact that people have right, if they are deformed, to take legal actions. And the start of legal actions is to serve the person and warn them that they have to do this and they have to withdraw the allegations. If not, I'm going to do that. If you are an activist, you are a politician, or you have a voice, this is one thing that you have to factor, that people will have a right to take actions. With this right, taking legal action, there are risks. And in most cases, people that have more to lose are people that have more in possession, in the sense of their standing in community, their wealth, their reputation, and everything else. Would this legal action Amie Bensouda have a team. Amie Bensouda herself is one of the most experienced legal persons in the Gambia, and she have a team of advisors and everything else, family, friends, and everything. For him to take these actions, he would not have been taken lightly. This is my understanding that she would not have taken these actions lightly. But again, we are not sure if Amie Bensouda have gone against legal advice. We are not sure that Amie Bensouda have gone against advice from family and friends. We don't know that. In cases like this, the ultimate person that have to decide is Amie. The family, friends, advisors can advise, but it's hard to say no or yes. And in such circumstances, at times people can commit mistakes and disregard advice because of their ego have been bruised or whatever it is, and take actions. But again, we have to think about this. Why now? Why now? Because this allegation started from the beginning. Did something new happen? Is it because of the heightening of this publication from Republic and the public interest? Now, I may have perceived that now the Gambians or the international community are paying attention to this case now. Before I can afford to ignore it, but now I can't afford to ignore it because of it's taken to international forums. Because that being the case, Amie has a lot to lose of her image, not personal image for that matter, but the brand. She's a consultant. She's running a consultancy. She has a brand for the international community. She do consulting to the World Bank, IMF, and all the international things. And she authors reports. She works within the West Africa sub-region, which I know of, probably even outside the West Africa region. These are things that have a potential to be damaged. She will have a lot to lose in that. Now, considering all this, is it what the motivation is? To try to redress this. It's try to redress this. And she believes that this is the only way to come to conclusion to redress it. Because if you have an outcome in courts, you see, this is the funny part of justice. Being found guilty in a court of law doesn't mean that you have committed a crime. People are found guilty because they have bad lawyers, because they're represented poorly, or because of other biases. Whilst they have not committed a crime, but once they are found guilty, that's what stands. They are convicted or they are addressed as someone who have committed that crime. People can commit crimes and go through the justice system and exhaust the justice system for that matter. Not only go to the first level, to the lower courts, but they can go to the appeal courts, they can go to the Supreme Court, and they'll be exonerated for a crime they have actually committed. You will not have a right again to address them or you have to see them as innocent people and they might have committed this crime. This is the associated risk of taking legal action. But in many cases, it's one thing that if you are exonerated, you have the freedom to say that I'm exonerated. That's why in most cases, to people who really believe in their innocence would always ask to go through the justice system because they believe that they would be exonerated for the crime they are alleged to have committed. But considering all this that Amie had to lose, with the allegation hanging on her, we have to again ask ourselves, what about if she goes through the process and lost the case? Because in these cases, it depends, I'll come to that. It depends how the person taken to the courts, how they presented themselves. They can turn it to be a trial against the person who takes them to court. But not only on the trial to the person that take them to court, but for the public interest, they can bring out the smoking gun, a public interest, and win the public opinion. Even if they lose the case, the public opinion will stand, and that will have damaging consequences to the person who took them to court, but to the system itself. Which system? The state, the Adamawa administration. It had that potential. Even for Kurang to lose a case, but Kurang to be seen as an underdog that have not been treated right, and the people buy into the narrative of and the public opinion win over, and Amie would still be exonerated in the courts. I mean that yeah, you won your case. I mean that, but again, it still sticks. The other aspect of it is a political aspect. Amie has a son who is Bensouda, one of his sons, the mayor of KMC, who is aspiring to run for elections. Now, this legal action can really damage the chance of Talibs becoming a politician, credible politician in the future. Two things here. I am saying this to say that and express this and make it clear. I say potential. I'm not saying that's going to happen. Potentially, it can damage the political career of Talib in two senses. One, if this legal case goes into the courts and heighten the public interest more, and certain revelations comes out of it, and remember, it's not a criminal case where Kurang have to prove anything beyond reasonable doubt. It's not. It's matter of making it believe that this how to call it, it's Kurang is within his freedoms of speech to exercise this due to the circumstances surrounding the involvement of Amie Bensouda. Now, if this thing goes on, you think it would be wise for UDP to put up a candidate who is in a technically would be mired in or conflicted in a big potential corruption scandal, or even if she wants to stand alone, I mean the public opinion, the engagements and everything would be Talib to defend or answer. He will not be able to just to dash it away. UDP cannot only dash it away, say, no, that is nothing to do with Talib, it's something to do with the mom and so on. No. Talib can become a casualty in this as the case goes on. Not even that the mom losing the case. The mom can go on and win the case and still the damage will be done. As I said earlier, Kurang can lose this case and win the public opinion, and that would still be a loss to Ms. Amie Bensouda. These are things to be put into consideration. We talk about how much brand damage and image damage and the ego bruises that Amie have to go through if these allegations continue or if she did not challenge. But if she challenges it too, there is a lot potential damage down the line. Looking at it, what we normally look at would say, I have so much to lose, and he has nothing to lose. He has something to gain. In political terms, this is why politicians at times will not take up a debate with certain candidates, because they know that there's nothing they win taking a debate with a candidate, but everything to lose if that debate goes on. In this case, this is not only about a legal case, this is not only about a personal thing, this is a political, and it had the potential to damage a lot of people, casualties and the way, but again, to bring the Barrow's government down. Now, in the case of Mamadi Kurang, Mamadi Kurang have a lot to win. If Mamadi Kurang goes through this trial, if he happens to go to this house, and if he happens to win the trial, that's a big political leverage. That's a big political leverage. It's up to him how he uses that leverage to gain political position in the future. I am not saying because of he can win the case, have a political leverage, that leverage is going to turn out to be gold, pot of gold down there to become a president or a significant someone else. No. This is a matter of having the resources. People can have resources and waste that resources. To waste that resources. People can do that. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen. But, just as Amie have a lot to lose, Kurang have a lot to lose as well. That is Kurang professional career as an accountant. I believe, I'm not sure, that he's within the ACCA Aggregated Association. He might be in other association, professional associations, I don't know. And a legal action of this magnitude, you losing it and been reprimanded, you might go bankrupt, and this will affect your practice as an accountant. 2, Kurang losing this case, that will be end of his political career. Potentially, again, end of his political career. In politics, you can say, but never say never. It will be it will be mountains to climb for him to ever fix that damage. But not only professional and political career. This case might end up to the Supreme Court. If Amie loses, I can tell you, Amie will go to the appeals. If appeal loses the appeal, Amie will go to the Supreme Court. And this will take a toll on Kurang's mental and physical well-being. This will take a toll on Kurang's family, in the family dynamics, be the children, be the parents, be the wife or other associates he has. It will take a toll. It's quite a very expensive venture to see yourself in. If you were not prepared for this, it's very difficult to maneuver. But not only that, Kurang will be wiped out completely dry. He will not able to sustain the finances that need to fight this case alone if he's not strategic. But not only if he loses this case, his entire property would be at risk of being repossessed. And his future earnings would be at risk of that being seized as he worked for the rest of his life. These are the associated risks, pros and cons. But as I said about the benefits, I've talked about Amie's and I've talked about Kurang. It's not exhausted. If you think of it more, you might see other things that are associated with it. But we look at the precedents that had happened. The public interest. The public interest. The public interest here is the public want to find the truth. And this government is not capable of doing that. We have already had, again, the Dr. Sisi coming out, trying to, I just don't know how some of our people get their doctorate, thinking that he can disassociate Barrow or the NPP out of this trouble by throwing the UDP under the bus or throwing other people under the bus. In this sense, the Janneh Commission. They want to make this thing about, is the Janneh Commission's fault. For the minister to come out to say that they haven't got a complete report of what have transpired is an insult to our collective intelligence of Gambians. This is why we should really be serious to get hold of this. Because now they try to disassociate here. First of all, if a government constitutes We elected a government. We gave the government all the resources. We gave a mandate to the president to appoint from the beginning. Even coming to a coalition, Barrow could have ignored, as he had ignored the coalition anyway, and appoint whoever he likes. For appointing Mambure and others, we all know that he did it. We gave him all this mandate, and he went on with his administration to constitute a commission and spend $50 million on that. And come back to us saying that after so many years, that Gambians has asked for this report, even to the point of Parliament asking for the report, and the Minister of Justice coming out to say that, no, we can't give you the report because if we do, we are going to trespass, we are going to reveal the private, or intrude into the privacy of the buyers, which we all know was nonsense. It was an insult to our collective intelligence again, but we let it off. The Parliament let it off, Gambian people let it off until the Republic made a report, publication, then the public anger came out, then Barrow had to push back, be on the back foot. Then they came out and gave us something, and now they want to turn around to say that, actually, no, we never had a report. Because an incomplete report, it's not a report. He should just say, oh, we never had a report. Why did they give us a list if the list was not complete? Did they tell us the list wasn't complete? We said it here, that list wasn't complete. It wasn't excessive. We said it here. We know there are a lot of other things that have happened, but the only competent way of finding out this is to develop a comprehensive report. The only way to know the facts, we don't have the capacity to do that. National Assembly doesn't have the capacity. Not only that, they are conflicted for that matter, because the Speaker of the House have said that he knew that there are properties, some of our properties still with Jammeh that we have not recovered within the Gambia, these things, and rent have been collected there. And if that person would sit over, you think you can have the facts from there? No. Now, for Cisse to come out to say this, and next minute trying to read me to us, saying that that gentleman called the Mandinka King or sold some cattle. Yeah, we are interested in any bit of, even a needle, we are interested in finding out. But as a government representative, you cannot just come on and pick someone to say, oh, but that person knows something. That person knows something. Subpoena that person if they know something. Or that person knows something. But you fail to talk about the crux of the matters because you are deflecting. You want to throw that red meat for people to go, it's about UDP. That's what they're trying to do. It's about UDP. No, this is about all of us, whoever is involved, regardless who you are, our family members, it's about you. But we are not going to be divided on this. That's why civil society have a role, the kind of the most significant role, in fact, to play. To make sure we get to the facts. Because politicians might be conflicted in this. Now, the public interest is, by this case going to court, is going to bring out, if Kurang have some things that we could not have shared, or by going through the process, other people might come out and provide evidence that probably, I'm saying probably, Kurang never even had, or other things, and the trial can be revealing. The trial can be revealing. And hence the trial is going on, the public interest will be on Jammeh's, the looted assets from Jammeh. Because we can easily forget, we can easily move on to the other stuff. I am not blaming our short attention span. No, it's because of many Gambians are dealing with so much of urgencies of feeding themselves, feeding their families, or paying for their school fees, or doing this, or their healthcare, or other things. You will not blame them if they keep on moving from one to another, if they don't see a resolution inside. But with this court case, might make them have hope that we'll see resolution in this, and it in fact will put pressure on the parliament. It put pressure on the borough government, and it will give momentum to the civil society gala and any other civil society movement that wants to take on this. It's helpful. It's to our interest. It's to our interest. Now, the other part of this is gala. Amie is not suing gala, but I have seen yesterday the new executive representative of gala. I have not seen Mamadi Kurang in that. I don't know what that means on Mamadi Kurang's position with gala. But we assume that the time that the legal process started, we will all have assumed that Mamadi Kurang was part of gala. Gala is not taken to court. But gala had the moral obligation to, because the case is of a public interest nature, but more so that now they have a limited ownership of it, being the catalyst, in fact, to things getting to this level. As the Republican publication became a catalyst, the young men and women that stood out first are part of that catalyst. They have ownership of that. Now, if one of their members or former members or whatever the associations are now are in court, we are not saying that they have to disrupt the how to call it, the process or anything, but it is unto them as it's unto Gambians for that matter, because it's public interest, regardless of your political affiliation, regardless of your liking or disliking of Mamadi Kurang. It's just a public interest to see this process go through if the principals, Amie and Mamadi, decided that they want to see this through. This is where I'm coming now. The possibility of negotiations. We might be selfish to say that, no, we don't want to see negotiations, because then the public interest would die, or the threat to borough government being under pressure would evaporate. That would be a very selfish stand to take, considering that we as individuals, we are not directly affected by the outcome. I'm not saying we are not going to benefit from the outcome, or we will not be affected from the lack of outcome from this case. But I am being empathetic here, especially to Mamadi Kurang as a young man facing this momentary challenge. It's not an easy challenge. Unless you were prepared for it and you have everything that it takes, it still would not be an easy challenge. And I will come to that later. But why am I saying there's a possibility of negotiations here? In these cases like this, it does come to negotiation. It does. Majority of times, actually. And why does it, majority times, why does it come out for negotiations? United Kingdom is known globally as the libel capital. London courts are known for the libel capital. People from Russia, even in America and others, if they can find any way that they can bring the case in the UK, if they have an option, they'll bring it to the UK. UK is the capital of it. But in years, you might have here 2 or 3 significant cases. Because what happens is people weigh their positions. Amie might weigh her position, but Kurang might weigh her position. They might have done things emotionally. Both of them can react emotionally. They might have ignored advice, even Amie or anybody. And when they calculate the risk factors, they might find a way out to settle. That might be Amie itself. Amie might find a way out to settle. There are many ways that you can save face and settle. Amie can still do that, rather than taking the risk involved. as we discussed this. Kurang might decide to do that and still save face for this thing. There will still be damage. But again, people can, for the both interests of both of them, there might be mediation to settle this, and it will not get to the courts. We'll look at that. Which, as I said, selfishly will say that it's not our interest. It's not in the public interest. But if we have any personal empathy towards, especially the underdog here, it's Kurang, to be factual. Other people who have empathy because of their association with Amie or their political leaning to Amie position because of Amie's son is someone they support. It's not only they support the UDP, some people would really, because they really support Talib, I mean, they want to see some very positive thing come out of it. But let's look at this on the part of the underdog. Legal actions this nature are not cheap. And the facts, if there are any facts, it's known to Kurang now. None of us have facts to what Kurang have alleged. But if we discuss what might transpire in the courts, it's not difficult if Kurang knows how to position himself. It's because it's no criminal case where he have to absolutely bring out the receipts. I hear people say, bring out the receipt, bring out the receipts. No, it's not about receipts. Yes, it's technically will be weighing opinions and weighing whether, because again, this court will always be sympathetic looking at the freedom of speech. Whether cross the line. Is it there any reasonable grounds for Kurang to make these allegations? Reasonable grounds for Kurang to make this allegation. But again, as I said, the associated risk factors facing Kurang, his professional, his political, his personal, family-wise, and everything else, financial ruins and everything, if he's not confident enough to go through this, his mental health and everything, he might settle for negotiations, for both of them to meet in a middle ground. I mean, it's asking for a lot. And if Kurang agrees to what Amie asked for, Kurang will be toasted. It's just as going through the court and losing without the financial aspect. Your character, your political, your professional will be very harmed. The only thing you save there will be your mental health and your financial. Now that is for Kurang to decide. As I said, nobody can decide this apart from Kurang and Amie. Even Kurang lawyers, they can advise Kurang, but they cannot take the decision for Kurang. They can advise Kurang, but they cannot take the decision for Kurang. It's for Kurang to take the decision. But it's for Kurang again. Why am I saying this? I'll talk about my personal experience. It's for Kurang again to weigh all this and find a way out, whichever way he thinks is best. But if Kurang decides that he needs to go through this, because we are interested in for the public interest, then we have to stand with Kurang because he's an underdog in order for the public interest to come out. That's the truth and the facts. If Kurang goes through it and fails to establish it, ultimately Kurang have already taken the biggest sacrifice because of none of us are going to be served, or anything taken from us. But the public interest would be that we have established the facts. Amie have gone the facts and then nobody can allege anything on Amie anymore. But for people to support Kurang as well, Kurang would have to organize himself. Kurang would need support for fundraising. Then he have to constitute himself. We have people around that can be trusted so that people can help financially to support him. But let him know that too, the finances coming might be limited because it's the money coming in cannot only He might have legal support and stuff like that, but it will have a financial toll in him as well. Because if the case going, we don't know how long it's going to go. Kurang too would need people around him, trusted people around him, capable people around him. I said trusted, I say capable. Be careful. What I mean trusted for many people. I'm not saying some. I said many people, and I emphasize, or most people, if the consequence of the issue is not personally harming them, they will not be truthful to you. They will encourage you. That's why if someone is encouraging you, make sure that person have wisdom or have knowledge. If someone is encouraging you, be sure that you trust them, that they are going to stand with you during and after the process, regardless of the outcome. But again, you need that group to able to help you to keep the public narratives. Look, these cases are going to be in the court and outside court. That's why it's expensive. It's going to be in the court and outside the court, the public opinion. You have to have this in hand to keep the public interest, because the more the public interest goes, the more your narratives, you winning the public opinion, your likely of resource mobilization would happen. Resource mobilization in the form of finance or other people, in fact, who were withholding information might want to, share that information. Because, people would have different level of stepping in to your struggle, or our struggle, if you look at it in the specs of the public interest. These are the challenges that one faces. But in order to look at the angle of the state, the borough administration, how can this weaken the borough administration, or other sense, even take them out of government? We are going to look at two precedents, two cases that had happened. Not exactly similar, but they all point to one thing, that in such cases, there are other casualties that can happen, especially here, the administration involved in the case. Because we know ultimately, Amie Bensoder did not appoint herself. Ultimately, Kurang did not appoint herself. Kurang and Amie Bensoder would not have clash if they were only neighbors. They would not have clash if they continue on their individual professions. They clash because it involved the state employing them. Then the trial, have something to do with the state. We remember that the person who was overseeing the delivery of the state policy of creating and commission is one of the biggest casualty here, Batambedu. And if this process have to go, Batambedu would probably need to testify. And on behalf of what he did or did not do during the process of implementing the state policy. People would ask why Kurang was authorized to sell at the beginning. But before you ask why Kurang was authorized to sell at the beginning, we'll have to ask why the government authorized the commission to liquidate. The commission and inquiry, as far as we know, as I said, that's why we need this inquiry or this investigation. They don't have a POR that empowered them to sell. Who empowered Kurang to sell? Because Kurang would not have taken the decision alone. The decision have to come to a process. And Batambedu, who would have reported to cabinet. Or if he ignored cabinet, then Batambedu would be ultimately held responsible. Then the commission too would have to be held responsible. How did you decide that your secretary have to sell? And how was that conducted? You see, before we said she bought, we have to look at the mechanism put in place, whether it was even legal for them to do what they did. The chairman of the commission and commissioners might be needed to testify. You see, and this is what will open up. That's why I say it's for public interest. It might be for Amie's interest to find the facts. It might be for Kurang interest for the facts to be unveiled, but ultimately it's the public interest to be this thing. But whose interest it's not, it's the Barrow's government. Because I can tell you, for matter of fact, that Barrow is on top of this, and he is part of the scamming of everything. Because the crux of this, if you look at the Alpha Capital case, let's just examine that. I reported this in 2020, early 2020, that it was Binta Sise, who Batambedu should know very well, who approached Batambedu and built a romantic relationship with Batambedu. And obviously Binta had an interest. It was not the appearance of Batambedu. It's not the sophistication of Batambedu. It's not the look of Batambedu. It's not the finances of Batambedu. But Binta recognized a potential, potential wealth, potential of making wealth out of the Janneh Commission. And that's why she pounced on Batambedu to get this gig. And it was Batambedu who took Binta to President Barrow at the State House. These are facts. That's why President Barrow will not call for a press conference. Then this question can be asked to President Barrow, did you or did you not meet Binta? Because Batambedu is avoiding to mention Binta. President avoided to mention Binta, and the company is MAMAOD something that Binta created few months before the assets were handed to Alpha Capital. Alpha Capital is connected to Binta. It is Binta who introduced Alpha Capital into the deal. Because Alpha Capital had the capacity. You ask me how much it takes to do this. But for whatever reason, if Binta had the capacity, she would have done it alone. Or Binta brought in Alpha Capital in order to cover for what they were doing. And when Barrow find out that he was robbed by Binta and Bar, how did Barrow find out this? Because the Ministry of Finance was against Batambedu taking up in this disposing of the properties of taken from the former dictator. Yes, Minister of Finance, Mambure Njai, and some others were against it. And if you ask me, this is part of how I come to know most of the things that happened at that time. And everything I have said, if you look at the Republic, is there. Everything. From Binta, Alpha Capital, and everything. For the percentages and every transactions, everything, I have said that almost 4 years ago. When the Finance Ministry made the case, President Barrow overruled. And so he supported Batambedu, and because of he supported Batambedu went and presented the white paper at the distinct cabinet went with it. This is what transpired. President Barrow is on top of it. That's why President Barrow will not want the truth to come out. Now, in this public interest, if we look at the precedents here, the court case going through and all these people coming out, it will get to, we don't know. It's just opening of a Pandora box. But as I said, again, it depends on how the defense, in this case, Kurang, was going to handle this. It's not actually how much he has, but how much the issue going to be, approached. This will bring us to, let me explain the precedents. Many people, young people might not know this because Gambians, we don't write a lot about our history. There was this during the First Republic, someone called Sanamane, Asantix, who made some allegations against notably Vice President, then Minister of Finance, Sehu Sabali. And it was not only Sehu Sabali, but this is the reason I said we don't write a lot, because I remember most of the ministers who he had alleged. And none of those ministers challenged it for corruption. Because of those ministers failed to challenge it, people have even forgotten who they are. But Sehu Sabali took up the matter to court, challenging Sanamane, Asantix, a humble journalist, old school journalist, and it went through the trials. And the public interest was heightened. People went on to attend courts. People started following the publication. Guess what? And Vice President, then Finance Minister Sabali. What's Sabali again? Sabali lost the case. What did Jawara do? It's one of the biggest mistakes Jawara have done. He lost the case, and the public interest heightened, and even the PPP government were under stress for all the allegations. You see, this is the potential the case have on Barrow. That's why Barrow doesn't want this case. Because once you can heighten this this case of the assets, the COVID, the airport security charges, the numerous scandals would all have that attention. Yeah, Senatix money. Now, what mistake Jawara did was to test the waters of his popularity within the party itself. Sehu Sabali, thank you. That's when he ended up going to Mansa Konko and declaring that he's not running again and he wants to retire, knowing that he does not mean it. The reason I said he did not mean this day that he was not going to run, the late Nyimasata Sane Boyang, who stood in the gallery and applauded the decision, the late how to call it, agriculture minister then, Oye Jallo, who stood and applauded, present Bibi Dabo, whose whose opinion was unknown, but obviously it was known that he would support, and it was seen politically as he is to gain because he was the vice president, because it's normally the norm that if a president announced such, the next person to benefit will be the vice president unless they remove the vice president and bring another person in. Nyimasata Sane Boyang became a casualty. OJ did not become a casualty because he was very popular with the youths and Serakunda and other things. But what Jawara did was remove Bibi from vice president to finance. And as such as the importance of finance ministry in the political lenses, it was a demotion. And instead of reprimanding Sehu Sabali, he promoted Sehu Sabali to vice president. Now, what did Sehu Sabali do? Sehu Sabali went and rallied support for Jawara and begged Jawara. He rallied alcalos, he rallied opinion leaders, imams and everything to the State House and begged the president, if you leave, who is going to take care of the country? That's insult. A cabinet member saying that if the president leaves, there's no one fit in the government to take care of business, as if they can determine the lifespan of that president. But again, if Jawara really meant it, Jawara would have put in the mechanisms and announced and hold on to his decision. But instead, some people were victimized for that. And the other elders, I'm not going to name them, for respect to their families, that Shehu Sabali rallied were introduced back to cabinet, who were already, we were not expecting in the early 90s to see those people back to cabinet. We are expecting younger. And I can tell you one thing, whether you like Bibi or not, Bibi Dabo or not, if Bibi Dabo have assumed position, taking over the PPP would have still won elections. And I can tell you, Gambia would have been introduced to a more mature democracy without a coup d'etat. This is my belief, but that's for another day. But when Shehu Sabali lost, he was promoted to vice president. Not only vice president, but for the first time, Minister of Defense. For the first time. The defense portfolio been given to someone else, not been held by the president. But not only that, Shehu Sabali went and married a niece of the president. You see how that aesthetics will be seen as what it portrayed. And now this announcement at Mansa Konko was the end of the beginning of the end of Jawara's regime. And ultimately 1994 happened, and that's why it was not easy to be done. Now, that's why here we have to look at this too in those lenses. For Asantix to win that case, and for things to turn out, because if Kurang wins the case, or even if the public opinion is heightened to a level, Barrow, they dare not ask us for a third term. But again, that's why I said, if Barrow would not ask for a third term, it would be difficult for UDP to put Talib as a candidate. Because of the heightening of the public interest would be Talib's mom on trial. Yes, it's not Talib on trial, but Talib cannot be insulated in political terms. I am not saying responsibility. Politics, like I said, cannot be insulated. Barrow cannot be insulated if the case continued and heightened the public interest. Because when they heighten the public interest, if Gambians are serious, they will have to bring every other case up that the government is not fit to look after us. Then something will force the government to do the right thing. Barrow not to declare for that term, Barrow to ensure he build a unity government that would be going into transition of what makes it ensure that we have a free and fair election in 2026 and we reset the button from there on. That is a possibility. It's a possibility to Barrow government to be shaken, just as the Jawara government was shaken. And the Jawara government was the most stable government we'll ever have. The way they have dominated parliament, I think the entire opposition was about 7. 5 from the NCP and 2 from independent or something of sort. It was about 7. They dominated almost every they control every local government things. There was no social media. They controlled Radio Gambia. They controlled every narrative. But they were shaken. They were shaken. This is when the Jawara government started to have problems with the Observer. Just imagine now, with social media, with the level of opposition in parliament, level of opposition in the country, and the aspiring opposition. This will be a leverage for the aspiring opposition if they know how to use it. The likes of SFR would say that I was not part of anything there, then I can stand out, I can agitate. If they know what to do. NUP can agitate. PDIS can agitate. Other aspiring candidates can agitate. And it will be an interesting time for our politics. What chance would NPP have? These are all possibilities. That's why I said we look at the public interest in the lens of the case of Asantix and Shehu Sabali. But let me just bring one of international dimension, just to show you it's not only unique to us. A little bit different, because this one, the person was not an underdog, but he can be termed an underdog because he took it up against the establishment. In the United Kingdom, we have Mohammed Al-Fayed, and around 1995, against Neil Hamilton, and the other minister was Neil Hamilton and Jonathan Atkins and Jonathan Atkins. Mohammed Al-Fayed was denied citizenship, and the conservative government accused him for not being a fit and proper person. But before the citizenship issue, he was denied the opportunity to buy Harrods. The United Kingdom, we have something here called the anti-competitive law, but not only about the anti-competitive law, they have a clause to protect the national security of the country that some transactions or economic transactions can be ruled against. Then they were against him buying Harrods, but he won the case in the courts and he bought Harrods. Now, to agitate the conservative government that was ruling for 18 good years, he took it on him. He got the money. He went and alleged that the conservative government is corrupt to the core, that he was paying. He said he was paying MPs, because here our Secretary of State, we don't call them ministers, our Secretary of States are most of them are members of Parliament or members of the House of, the House of Lords. He alleged. And these two, Neil Hamilton and Jonathan Atkins, decided to take legal actions. And they took to the courts, not knowing that Mohammed Al-Fayed was using Tiny Rowland. Mr. Rowland was the chief Inspector General of the Metropolitan Police, the biggest police force in the United Kingdom that's look after London and the Greater London area. That he was his head of security. And he was the one taking the brown envelopes to these MPs who were ministers to ask questions. And obviously when they went through the courts, it was determined that yes, around the time that this person have delivered this money, the money that this minister did not disclose, because any gift of significant, I don't know how much, but any gift that they determine significant should be reported. Or even any job you do and get paid for, you should report it to the ethics and one of the committees in Parliament. They failed, thank you, the cast for corrections, perhaps. It was called the cast for corrections. They failed to declare this, and obviously then the money was made for one thing, and they did that. They look at the parliamentary proceedings and they realized both Jonathan Atkins and this were asking questions which benefited Mohammed Al-Fayed. But not only that, Jonathan Atkins was charged later for perjury because of withholding evidence in the hearing. The next election, the Conservative lost landslide against Labour. Landslide against Labour, and they stayed out of government. That's how much, because it was seen as a sleaze government. They stayed out of government for over 18 years. They only came into government because there was a hung parliament between they had to use the Liberal Democrats to form government. These are the potentials we face. Neil Hamilton, financial ruin, professional ruin, political ruin. Jonathan Atkins, financial ruin. He had to rebuild himself from prison. He converted to he was a Christian. He dedicated himself to identify with one of the choices of Christianity and work on prisoner reforms, programs and others, and had a private life. These are the potentials it has. But I want to, again, I have very much empathy to, how to call it, Mr. Kurang, for the reason why. For the reason why. For the public interest. I know Kurang. We spoke probably years ago, a few times. I'm not in regular contact with him or anything. But in these circumstances, even if there were differences, the differences would be overlooked and look onto what the public interest. Because now, what Kurang is going to represent, we are not looking at the if. We are going, if we are empathetic, we are not going to look at if he wins, what leverage he's going to get from that. No. No. If we are selfish, we'll support him because we're selfish, that we want the public interest to heighten and whatever, and the political possibilities that comes with it, or the finding the facts that we are interested in. That might be a selfish opinion. But the empathy here against him, for him, is being an underdog, and hence that we have an interest or a joint interest here to see the public interest heightened, and he's the one out there to take the bullet. If he chooses to, nobody can make him do it. Let me emphasize that again. He put it himself there. If he chooses to do that, we owe him a support. Not that we agree on what he decides, but in the process, we are going to find out. Because if he loses the case, directly, he's the one being inflicted directly. His character, finances and everything else, mental health and everything is him. Then it's right to look at it to say that we have empathy to support him. But again, let me emphasize, empathy to support him comes with responsibility that he have to take. Nobody can do that for him. He have to identify people that are trusted to run a financial campaign, resource mobilization campaign. Financial, he need people that will be dedicated to that, and people can give because of they can trust the people around that. He need to build a team around himself that will help to advise and to help him win the public opinion, because the public opinion is very important in this case. He might lose the case and gain the public opinion and still right in politically. Politics is about strategy. It's not about facts. That can happen. But he need to have the right people, capable, trusted, that he can trust. Not people who are not capable and will just tell you anything because they are using emotions or because they have something against the person you're going after. Then you make a big mistake. Because we don't know how prepared he is. We don't know that. Unless you are close to him. For what we see online, he doesn't look prepared. He is showing defiance, but we don't know the fear. People can show defiance. If you understand the Peter principle, people can show defiance, but doesn't mean that because of their brave or their confidence of where they are. But people close to him, family members, friends, and people close to him are to determine that and to reassure him or reinforce that if it's that or whatever it is for them. And this is why I want to take a personal into my experience here. If I tell you that I was at my happiest when Barrow's government, or not the government, Barrow himself threatened to sue me. I was at my happiest. Why? Because I was always prepared for that. Why? Because it was an achievement that finally, something that eluded us was to hold Barrow accountable. Parliament were not able to do it. Civil society were not able to do it, not without trying. Nobody else was able to do it. Now he is taking me to court. If he takes me to court, then I am happy that now he will be held accountable. Why I didn't have any fear? Because I was prepared. My experience, my background is different from other people. I dedicate myself here. I am not young anymore. I have passed a lot of things that I needed to do. Most of my responsibility I've gone past that. I was not facing any. I was not going to face any financial ruins for that matter. I am not going to go into that, and I hope being an accountant, Kurang knows that. If you are in public advocacy, you have to arrange your finances. That when they come for you, if you happen to lose your case, as I said, losing your case doesn't mean that you did not have the facts. No. You have to arrange yourself. Prepare your finances. Even your future earnings, you should know how to draw it so that significant amount will never be taken away from you if you lose a lawsuit. I knew that. I was prepared. But I was an activist from childhood, from the First Republic. I was an activist as a child, unknowingly, because of the environment I came from, because of the way I was brought up. I was defiant. But again, to come out, I didn't come out to speak because I am a journalist or I was trained to speak. I know that I have something to say. I know I have ideas and I want to share it and I want to shape opinion. Yes, I taught myself to do that because I want to take the responsibility. I am not doing it because of it's going to financially benefit me. No. When I thought about it, when I was doing it, it was not for it to be my job, but for me to use it to do my bit for my people. I was prepared. Especially when I came out during my timing of everything, I prepared. I was intentionally doing what I did. I focused, I prepared. I prepared my family because at Jamaica I said, look, I am going to do this regardless what's going to happen to you. It's not that I am the one that will do that for you. That will be Jamaica's responsibility. This is my responsibility I'm doing and nothing to do with you. And I don't want you to ever involve yourself in it. If you involve, that's your choice. But I am not seeking your support in any way. Because this is for me, I'm taking this. I know that's a risk, and let me do that. My immediate family, my partners, and anybody that matters in my life. If you want to drop, you drop. But this is where I am going. I was prepared for that. I was prepared financially and all the things. But I, again, was prepared because I know my integrity matters to me. I will never take up a campaign if I cannot determine the facts or cannot defend what I am campaigning for. I will not campaign if it is not to the public interest. I will not campaign for any individual interest, not my individual or anybody else. That's why every other campaign I've took up, because I know how to get the information. I was trained to get information. I was trained to use the information, everything else. Be the drug scandals, be Gum Petroleum, be it especially the social security bosses that I alleged that Barrow was paid 2.5 million. He ended up coming to the parliament. Exactly what I said. The only thing they could not say was someone benefited. But we know someone benefited. They don't inflate prices just because they want to help the businessman. They don't put prices almost 80% more because they want to help a businessman. They're doing it because they are taking something out of it. Now, in the case of that, why am I explaining that? This is some of the things that will need to come out to the courts. How can they determine? How can Kurang determine his case? It's not only material evidence. Material evidence will help. That's why people ask for receipt will help. But in this case now, I am not going to go into Kurang's case. I'm saying some of what I was prepared. I had material evidence because it was a serious allegations. I'm not stupid. My integrity just to come and allege to the president, against the president, without having material evidence. The material evidence, obviously, what I have not the president receiving the money, but to prove that the only reason the president would do this because of the money alleged to be given to the president. And if the president answered or appeared to defend himself or whatever, we might point to where we should be looking, and he have to disclose. He have to disclose. If he asks for disclosure, he will have to disclose. But as I said, I know of the facts that what I was saying was fact. But what angered the president was my audacity to say that he have taken money. He was bribed by TK Motors. But the president know for himself, and that's what bothered him more, was how did I know the exact figure that he was paid. But you see, that's why I said you have to be very careful of people that will advise you. When the president got angry, he invited his obviously legal advisor in government, Dawda Jallow. He invited his spokesperson. Those are not the best to advise you, because they will not tell you the truth. And they supported the president to say sue him, because he would, for them, even Dawda Jallow being the lawyer, he's not honest. He will not tell, or he will not able to prove that. They thought now they have me where they wanted me. And some people thought I was callous to do that. Now they went. But they need a private legal practitioner to look into the case. The private practitioner went and looked at what I've written. All the articles I have written about this. The private practitioner asked these questions. Was this person, that person, and that person in the conversation that Suwareh have alleged here? They said yes. He said, is it true that the president office or the president permanent secretary, Ibrahim Sise, have written a letter to Social Security to give them instructions to purchase these buses? So they said yes. That's how they went on, looking at all the points I made, and it was all yes. And he said, if you dare touch this case, you'll be finished. That's what they told the president. Because of he must have had the letter, which was true. I had the letter. He might be able to bring these people, subpoena these people to court, and the testimony of these people would implicate matters. They were not able to deny, and they might subpoena to bring the minutes of that meeting. Meetings are recorded. All those meetings were recorded. What every one of them said would come to light. And do you know, this what it was. The same thing went for Bartambedo. Without people knowing, when I alleged before Bartambedo ran away from the Justice Ministry, I only, because I don't go to people's personal life, I only charge him for conflict of interest. Because I said Binta Sise was a close friend of him. That's what I said, close friend. Bartambedo was more angry. He was not angry about the facts that Alpha Capital got the contract, that he did not bid for the contract, that Alpha Capital was introduced to the contract by Ba and Binta. He was not angry about it. He was angry about the 10% and all the issues I raised, that the money was paid. They collected the money, and instead of taking the money to the central bank, they left it in their private bank accounts. They yield interest. They did not pass on the interest. And you see, President Barrow, in his Mandinka presentation speech, he alluded to that. But he stopped at saying that the government did not receive the interest, because that is part of throwing Bartambedo under the bus. When I did that, Bartambedo was more worried. Yeah, I am alluding. He said, I am alluding that there's a relationship with this thing. If I don't withdraw this, he's going to take me to court. I wrote a letter, I made a response to Bartambedo, and said to him that you are welcome. Take me to court. What I said and everything is in the open. Go out in the open and attack it, or take me to court. But I said, you will be ready. Would you be ready to disclose your true nature and relationship with Binta Sise? Because I know what it is. I was just trying to respect your privacy. That's why I did not say that. I know you are in a relationship. Are you ready to do that? That's zip. That's where Barton will stop. The minute I asked him that whether he was ready for disclosure. Now, why I'm saying this is, it was easy for me because I know I have the facts, I have the receipts. Some of the material evidence I don't have, I can force the government to produce it if they take me to court, because they have to put the minutes of meetings and everything. I can ask them to bring it, and these are things that, again, Kurang have to do. Make sure that he knows people that participate in things, and they'll have to come, and any administrative thing, he have to demand it, and it have to come. If they fail to bring it out, then the judge will say, you have a reason. There's no transparency in here to allege what you allege. That's why it's not a criminal case. It's not a criminal case. And again, as I said, I'm prepared for this. I will not be stressed about this. My people will not be stressed about it. But again, another thing, that's why I advise in Kurang here is, always make sure. Many people don't do this. But from my experience, I did this. And I can tell you, I did not go and look for people to say, come and support me, come and do this. You see, that's why I always argue. You know, when people say, Gambian be for bond, I always go the contrary and say, no. Because I know that for a fact, Gambian do bond. I became one of the most connected Gambians. This is not personal friendship I have with these people. These are not people I go out drinking. These are not people I go out partying. These are not people I go out and do other things. But even some of them. Some of them, I'll travel miles with them to go and do worship. I'll travel miles with them to go and just sit down and have a chat. We'll fly out of the country and meet, and this thing, we develop that relationship through what advocacy is. If it comes to accountant, I am connected to many Gambian accountants from different environments. If it comes to banking, I am connected to all this. And all the time they will educate me. And if I need any information that I need clarity, they will give me the clarity because I trust them. Not that they are educated, because their integrity that if I mess up, they'll tell me, no, you're messing up. Drop this. Pick this. Or you are right there. Hold this. Or no, it's not like that. I'll come back to you. I'll look into this. Be it lawyers, be it even engineers, everything else, Gambians, who cares? I did not go looking after them. They presented themselves. We built a relationship based on the interests of the nation. It's not that they will give me stuff or anything, no. But more so what I get is the moral support. More I get is the intellectual support to able to do my advocacy, because we share what we share. Today, my best friends are those who are, who I said I might, and they are not the one following me on social media. Most of them are not even on social media. But you need a team to be with you. In times of difficulty, these are the people you can rely on. In terms of doing what you do, these are the people that help you, advise you to able to do the right thing and have it right. That's why all the time you will be more effective in doing what you do. My experience is this. When Barrow made that announcement, or this guy made the announcement, Sankare, and I went to coffee time and said, look, I am happy. Now we have an opportunity to find the truth that Barrow is corrupt. Oh, do you have evidence? I said, yeah. And you think I am coming out here to tell you what my evidence is? I said, what my evidence, part of it is there, is the facts I presented, and I'm going to back them if it comes to court. But I said, if Barrow did not take me to court, then he's guilty of what he's charged. On social media here, some people that will come out to pretend that they support you, starting saying, yes, Barrow have the right, because people are just coming out alleging anything against Barrow. I laughed and looked at them. After a few weeks, they have not heard from Barrow. The same people started to come to your inbox. The same people started to your inbox. And this is my advice to Kurang, to be very careful. They started to come to my inbox. But what actually transpired, the other way around, this network of support, they already knew everything I was putting out there. I don't run to put things out. If I run to put something out, I'm just questioning, and I'll make sure I do it very explicitly clear. I am probing something here. But if I go at length to write something and allege something, if I come out to present something, I put it on facts. That's why I'm not scared. Because I have a way to go doing the due diligence. I'm not a lawyer. I am not a scientist. I am not an economics on all these things. But I can discourse and hold a brief. What they call hold a brief. A discourse with experts and hold a brief for them. Because I know what they're telling me. I don't need to question it. They have the knowledge, but they have the integrity. They will not let me down. But again, not only one person giving me something, I always have a counterbalance. I always have a way of getting someone else to look after that. And most of these people don't know each other. I keep my relationship in the way it is. They don't have to know each other. What normally happens is they find each other. One of them would happen to know or related to someone, and they will bring up this conversation, and they will name it. Or say, oh yeah, I know it. Recently, one of my, I call them my advisor, passed away. I sent a message, and the wife got the message, and the wife said, I never knew that you know my husband. And the wife was surprised the amount of communication I regularly have with the husband. Recently, another person went to have a conversation with the mom and just mentioned that, oh, I was just talking to Bensouda about this. And the mom said, oh, don't you know Ben is involved with this and that and that? The minute he put the phone with the mom, he said, I didn't know you were. I said, yeah, but you never told me. I said, no, it's not. It's not up for discussion. If it's relevant to discuss, we'll discuss. You see, these things matters. When this thing, a lawyer, one of the most senior lawyers in the country right now, sprung up and said, I know him, we talked before, or we have links. Someone said, look, let them go against it. Let's get prepared. I will represent you, and I will bring people around. I'll do it for nothing. I'll bring people. In fact, I have more information because I know what you're talking about is right. In fact, there are other things that we can bring into this case. These things can be taken. But again, we have to really look at it without emotions. Bensouda have a lot to lose by starting this case if he withdraws. Bensouda have a lot to lose if he goes through these things. Bensouda have something to gain if he have the desired outcome. But he can even have the desired outcome, and Talib can become a casualty, or other things might be casualties. These are how this thing. Always the underdog have everything to win. As I said, that's why in politics, some things are not taken up. You let it go. But again, Bensouda has the right and it's toward public interest for Bensouda to go through this. It's out of public interest. It's not about punishing or silencing Kurang. No. That's her right. We fight for everybody's right, regardless of your status. But we have to have this discussion, and this is as much as I can say, without prejudicing the cases or side of anybody. This is where we are. And mostly what concerns us here is the public interest and the empathy we have to both individuals. But as I said, it's an opportunity to hold this government accountable and bring about change in the country. Thank you very much, guys, and have a good evening.